You're listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks, your source for centered and focused play therapy coaching.
Hi, I'm Dr. Brenna Hicks, the Kid Counselor. This is the Play Therapy Podcast where you get a masterclass in child-centered play therapy and practical support and application for your work with children and their families. In today's episode, I'm answering a question from Erin in New Jersey, and this is about a child who is selectively mute. That has become so much more prominent in the last year or two. I would say in the first, 15, 16 years of my career, I had only worked with one child who was selectively mute. And in the last 2-3 years, actually probably since COVID, to be honest, it has just increased exponentially. And it's coming up all the time with therapists everywhere. So we know this is a pretty pervasive issue, and I'm really excited to dive into this question. So Erin in Jersey, thank you. I'm actually coming to New Jersey soon. So just a public service announcement. I'm going to be doing a weekend workshop in New Jersey in April. So if you all live in that area and or you can fly, swim, drive, row, whatever to Jersey, we're going to be doing a conference for live CEUs. So keep that in mind. All right, let me read parts of the email and then we'll process this together. I've been working with a 6-year-old who presents with selective mutism. She has not spoken in our sessions, but she has made sounds and does speak at home and minimally at school. She makes sounds and nonverbal gestures in our sessions and has laughed. She is unable to detach from mom in sessions, and in her most recent one, she cried. Mom joins her in the playroom. I usually present the playroom to her, but she does not readily engage with anything unless I give her a directed, quote, play item. I'm stuck because I want to give her confidence and trust to play and explore, but it seems to be the biggest hurdle in her independently navigating the playroom. Any ideas or guidance would be helpful. Alrighty, so there's a lot of layers here, and I'm going to kind of systematically unpack them. First and foremost, we need to recognize selective mutism for what it is. It is not its own existing thing. It is anxiety. So once we get rid of the selective mutism component, not that we get rid of it, but once we understand that that is in light of unmanageable levels of anxiety, paralyzing levels of anxiety, then we recognize, okay, so I know how to handle an anxious kid in the playroom. We can't have an expectation, and this needs to be made clear to parents too. I've been talking about this a lot with therapists lately. We have to set expectations with parents because if their goal is, quote, my kid needs to talk, that is not what CCPT is going to focus on, and that is not the goal. That's a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. I say that all the time, but this is what we're up against all day, every day. The rest of the world wants to put a Band-Aid over something. And if we, quote, get the child to talk, which obviously we're never going to do that, but I mean, even if I'm indulging the request, just get my child to talk. Well, even if I, quote, get your child to talk, that is a Band-Aid over a wound that probably needs massive surgery because at its core, we're looking at unmanageable, paralyzing levels of anxiety. Even if your child starts talking again, have we addressed the anxiety? Likely not, if it was a directive approach. So child-centered play therapy is extremely well suited for anxiety. We know this. Therefore, we're going to trust the process. We're going to trust kids. And we're going to know that anxious kids go through the process a little more slowly. So, Erin, back to some of what you said. She has made sounds and makes nonverbal gestures and has laughed. Those are huge components. We wait. When you have a child that is selectively mute, we wait for any vocalization whatsoever. Often they come in and they are completely silent. So the first time that they grunt or moan or giggle or laugh or gasp or do anything that makes a sound from their vocal cords, that is a huge moment. It's a step toward eventually being more free, eventually having a reduction of anxiety where you can communicate freely again. So I've worked with many children with selective mutism, and the first time they make a sound, I'm internally doing backflips. Okay, so the fact that that has already taken place, that's powerful. She is feeling more comfortable. She is able to vocalize at least sounds at this point, and she's using gestures as well. So she is communicating. She's engaged. That is all positive circumstances. Okay, she's unable to detach from mom in sessions, and in her most recent one, she cried. Mom joins her in the playroom. Here's where we're no longer CCPT adherent. Parents do not join kids in the playroom for dozens of reasons. I've talked about it many times in other episodes, but the largest being that a child is not going to be able to work through their stuff with a family member present. It's a breach of confidentiality. It removes the dyad of the child therapist relationship. Parents cannot be CCPT adherent. Children are protective of their loved ones from their junk, so they don't want their parents to see all the stuff that they have to work through. I could go on and on and on. So the second that we introduce a parent into the playroom, we are no longer adherent to the model. The playroom is for you and the child only. Yes, it can be hard for kids to come back to the playroom, but we never force them to. Yes, it can be hard for parents to leave their child, and or it's hard for kids to leave their parents. But we honor the process and we wait until it's able to unfold that way. So, Erin, I think the first step for you and for this client is going to be setting expectations that the playroom is not for parents. And you can just say, I know that in the past, mom has come back, but the playroom is just for you and me. So moving forward, you can choose for mom to sit in the lobby, or you can choose for mom to sit in the car, or however you're going to structure that limit. But what you're doing is making it clear, I know we've done something different in the past, but we're changing it moving forward. And I think that will be a huge change for her. Look, she doesn't want to leave mom because mom is a security blanket, or mom is a crutch, or mom is the safety zone. And we already know she has high levels of anxiety. So of course it's going to be highly scary for her to come into a room without mom. Mom makes her feel safe. Mom makes her feel calm. But that is furthering the anxiety. She has to get to a point where she manages her own fears. She manages her own anxieties. She has the ability to calm and regulate herself. Another person cannot serve that role. She has to do it from within, internal locus of control. So I would absolutely set a limit on mom being back, Erin. And then I present the playroom to her, but she does not readily engage in anything unless I give her a directed play item. All right, here's another deviation from the model. We're not going to give a child an item. We're not going to direct them toward an item. And I get it. I totally know what it is like when you have a child that is sitting in the room. They won't talk, they won't do anything, and they just sit and they're uncomfortable and you're uncomfortable and it's quiet. And that 50 minutes feels like an eternity. And we want to rescue ourselves from it. So sometimes it's like, should I just give them something? Should I just suggest something? Should I just direct them towards something? Should I bring something up? All of those questions, we all go through them because it is hard to sit in the pocket of discomfort. It is hard to sit in the pocket of anxiety. It is hard to trust a child and trust the process and trust the model. But we do it because we know that it works. We do it because we know that it honors the child's pace. And we do it because we understand that if we deviate, we no longer have a proven model and we cannot guarantee efficacy. So it's going to take a while before she willingly chooses to do something, Erin. It's going to take a while. She has to overcome a lot. And it may be weeks before she chooses to do something. But you just continue to say, you know you're in charge when you're here and you're choosing to just sit there for right now. You haven't decided what you'd like to do yet. You're not exactly sure what you have in mind. You're choosing to just sit. And you're going to continue to acknowledge what she's doing without expectation. It's not, I'm going to acknowledge that you're sitting there, but my tone is, I'd really like you to do something else. It's factual, neutral declaration. We trust the child, we trust the process, we trust the model. I had an email this week from a listener and she said, I hear you in my head all the time. Trust the process, trust the child. And now I'm saying it. So if you hear me in your head, it's because I repeat that over and over and over again. But it's meaningful. We have to. Look, we can't trust ourselves. We can't trust activities. We can't trust our own fears. We can't trust anything else. We need to fall back on what we know. What we know is the child will work on their stuff in their way, in their time. How? With the time, the tools, and the opportunity. So, Erin, you're giving her the time, the tools, and the opportunity when you just sit in a playroom with her and you trust her. And you trust the model and you trust the process. And you know that it's going to take a while. And you're okay with that because we unconditionally accept kids exactly where they are. She is paralyzed in fear. She is overwhelmed with anxiety. It's going to take her a while to come out of that hole. That's a deep pit and it's filled with muck. So it's going to take a while, but she'll get there. So we're going to just wait. And you said, I want to give her confidence and trust to play and explore. By doing exactly what I'm describing, you just trust her and you wait. It feels good to just come in and sit sometimes. You're choosing to just sit. You haven't decided what you're going to do, but you know that you get to be in charge. So when you choose to play, you choose to play. And you just reassure her over and over and over again, sometimes for weeks on end, that you're just going to trust her. She will eventually trust herself. She will eventually start doing work that she needs to do. She's just not there yet, but she'll get there. So Erin, thank you so much for the question. For every single one of you and maybe your kid isn't necessarily selectively mute, but many of you have kids that will not go into the playroom. They will not play. They will not talk. I mean, they talk, but they won't talk in the playroom. These are difficult scenarios, and we have to be confident and competent and know exactly how to handle that. So Erin, thank you so much for the question. That's really helpful. And I suspect that a lot of people have takeaways. So if you would like to say hello, send me a question, argue with me, whatever, please reach out, Brenna at thekidcounselor.com. And I always love hearing from y'all. So I appreciate it when you say hello or whatever. I love y'all. Have a great week. We'll talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Play Therapy Podcast with Dr. Brenna Hicks. For more episodes and resources, please go to www.playtherapypodcast.com.